Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I will be going over potential UFC 307 main events, looking at the rankings, seeing who's fighting, who's recently fought, what could possibly happen. Because if we take a look at UFC 307, there is no main event yet. We have Evloev versus Sterling, Chris Curtis versus Kevin Holland, Aldo versus Batista, Harrison versus Vieira. Also there's some solid matchups on here. Almeida versus Pateri is a good matchup. Uh, if anyway. But yeah, we're gonna look for some headliners to this because there's absolutely nothing right now. Because if you take a look at 305, we have that's happening next week. Well, I'll have predictions for that in a couple of days, probably Monday or Tuesday. You have Duplessis versus Adesanya, Kai Kara France versus Urseg, Gamrot Dan Hooker, Tuivasa Rosenstrike. But I'm focusing on the main events here. So we have Duplessis Adesanya for this. We have O'Malley versus Marab for the 306 with Grasso and Shevchenko already. So that's 3 titles off the table. Then we have Ilia Topuria, mate. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. We have Cyril Gane versus Volkov, Whitaker Shemaev, Magomed Ankalaev versus Rakic. Which this is huge because this takes contenders off the table for an Alex Pereira title fight, which I'll get into my whole thing. It's good fights, right? Good fights happening, but that leaves UFC 307 kind of hung out to dry. There's not a lot of things that we can throw in this card as the headliner. So today I have compiled a few potential matchups that we can put. Just looking at the rankings, seeing who hasn't fought. If you take a look, some of the titles that can be fought. Pantoja is open. Move lightweight. Islam's injured. You could throw an interim title fight together, but I don't even know who, because you have Armin who's suspended. What is this card happening? I think he would be able to maybe make October 5th in Salt Lake City, but then it's who's the other guys fighting. Just beat Charles. Gaethje just got knocked out and he's taking some time off. Poirier just lost a title shot. Gamrot's booked against Hooker. Chandler's hanging out for McGregor. Dariush is on a 2-fight losing streak, and Fiziev torn ACL. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna take Moicano off, do Moicano versus Sarukian for an interim title? No. So nothing else in the division makes sense unless you do a rematch with him and Charles, but nobody wants to see that. And yeah, maybe Poirier, but that's even a stretch. That title's off the table. Bilal Leon just fought. Jurikis, we went over. Alex Pereira. It would be a decent timeline for him because it would be like 5-ish months, something like that. But you gotta look at his contenders. He beat Yuri twice. Magomed scheduled to fight. He already beat Jamal Hill. Blachowicz. He already beat Blachowicz, though. There's not much interest there. His last fight was the loss to Alex Pereira. So that's not really an interesting fight. I could do Ozdemir, but did he really earn it? It's not really hyped up matchup. So, and John Jones is going to fight an MSG probably at 309? When is this card happening? So, but yeah, probably 309 is when we'll see John Jones. He's fighting Stipe. Aspinall just fought, and there's nobody else for him to fight because it's just a lot of these divisions are kind of dry unless you throw him in there with Jonathan Almeida, but I feel like he needs to win one more before he gets a title shot. Unless you're really stretching, you throw him with the winner of Tybura versus Spivak. Oh my god. And coming to the women's divisions, you have Wei Li and Tatiana Suarez. They're open. Grasso and Shevchenko are fighting at 306. And Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena are open. And that's a scary thought, but yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Alright, so potential UFC 306 headliners. The first one is just a Pantoja title defense against I don't know. I doubt they'd bring Demetrius Johnson, but it's just like some sort of big fight at Fly. I just threw him on there because I guess it's a possibility. But there's one guy I don't remember his name. I don't remember anything. I just he's from a different promotion. They say they either teased him signing or he did, but I don't know. Or you do Albazi, but I don't want to see him fight Albazi. I'd rather see Pantoja fight the other guy whose name I can't think of and couldn't find, or Mighty Mouse. Just a big fight. Maybe Tatsuro Taira because he's at least somewhat exciting. But I see this as probably, and my criteria for making these is like a mix of fan interest and if it makes sense. Like there's obviously some crazy fights I could try to put on here, but they don't make sense versus their high end fan interest. So yeah, this would be interesting because it would get to test Pantoja some more, and you're bringing in a superstar. You gotta try to make the flyweight division more interesting again because Pantoja's kind of clearing it out. Urseg's on the come up, but he just beat Urseg, and Urseg's scheduled to fight Kai Kara France. And there's not really many other contenders at flyweight that, especially with Cap losing and Makayev getting released essentially. It's just there's nothing really formed, and it's just kind of making flyweight stale, and it's hard to book a Pantoja fight right now when the number one contender is Brandon Royval, who just recently lost to him. So did Moreno. Then there's Amir Albazi. Then there's Kai Kara, who's booked. So yeah, you gotta try to spice up the flyweight division. This is one way. I think you gotta bring a champion from an outside promotion. And yeah, preferably it would be Mighty Mouse, but I don't see Mighty Mouse coming back to the UFC anyway. Like, Dana White probably wouldn't want to re-sign him, and Demetrius Johnson wouldn't want to come anyway, but he's just a big name I throw in here. It's just as the poster boy for champion from outside promotion. Moving on. Dustin Poirier, Colby Covington. Dustin Poirier versus Colby Covington. Colby Covington's been talking shit about Poirier for years. Dustin Poirier, Louisiana swamp trash, all stuff like that, talking the most. And Poirier, he said he wants an exciting fight, one more before he goes. And Colby looked terrible in his last fight, so Poirier was doing decent at defending the wrestling of Makhachev. So if he could defend the Colby Covington chain takedowns, I think he definitely beats Colby in the stand-up. And yeah, this would be an interesting matchup. It's if Colby can get him to the ground. You'd obviously have to stack the undercard because this alone wouldn't sell a pay-per-view. I mean, it kind of would if you mark it as Dustin's last fight and a grudge match at the same time. And this is the perfect Colby Covington fight because it's a big name who's aging and old and frail. I would say frail, I guess. Poirier's had a couple surgeries, couple injuries, and it's just the perfect fight for Colby Covington to scream title shot right after. And yeah, especially with the built-in beef, and I believe Poirier's friends with Masvidal also. That could just stir the pot up a little more. And yeah, you stack an undercard underneath this, and yeah, that it's just an idea. Probably won't have. I think Poirier said something about no surgery, but he would postpone it if he were to get a fight. And yeah, this is the fight I came up with. I think it's pretty decent. You gotta have a stacked undercard. Maybe I could do a little 307 card builder, a couple more fights they could add to it. But yeah, all right. Moving on. Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. It's a title fight, and if there were going to be a WMMA headliner, I would prefer it be a Weili involved in it somehow. Preferably it'd be Weili Grasso, but Grasso's scheduled to fight, so that timeline doesn't make sense. But yeah, this is another one. All these pretty much from this point on, you're gonna have to stack the undercard because you're not getting the strongest main event. The strongest main event I put together was a Pantoja main event. So if that gives you any idea of what we're looking at right now, we're in desperation mode. And yeah, so Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez, undefeated, very deserving contender against Weili, who in moments looked vulnerable against Yan Xiaonan, but it'll be Suarez's 12th fight, so yeah, and I think this will be more of a grappling match too, so, and it's a WMMA, so you'd have to really stack the undercard. But Whaley's actually one of the few very exciting WMMA fighters. Sorry to say it, put it bluntly like that, but most of their fights are not exciting. They're just boring split decisions. And yeah, if there were going to be a WMMA headliner, I would prefer it be this. And I think this would be a good fight, actually. It'd probably be good in the first couple rounds and slow down towards the end. So if we didn't get an early finish, it'd be a snooze fest for 3, 4, and 5. But yeah, this is the third out of the 5 fights I've come up with to headline the. I don't know why they skipped. I mean, I get they're trying to stack Abu Dhabi for the market over there, but you gotta show some love to other cards too. You can't just stack one card and leave one card out to dry, because and it's just not. I don't like it. But yeah, moving on. What the fuck was that? I'll edit that out. Don't worry. Moving on. And I'm getting fucked. 1 second, guys. All right, 4th fight. Usman versus either Shavkat or JDM. Now, I'm really reaching here. This is a hard reach. I was looking at the rankings and I was befuddled, because I have one more fight after this. I think we all know what it is, but I was just looking at some contenders and I couldn't see anything. Nothing caught my eye other than Usman. Usman's name really did catch my eye, because you could I don't know, unless I threw maybe an Oliveira, which I probably should have done, but again, I didn't know who to make Oliveira fight. Like, you could do Oliveira Colby, but I don't know. I just see there's more beef with Poirier and Covington. That's why, you can actually build a story around that. But as far as Oliveira, I don't. Unless you do a Gaethje rematch, but Gaethje's taking time off. You could do a Poirier rematch, actually. Now that I think about it, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyway, moving on. We have Usman versus Shavkat or JDM, because you're either A, it's the return of Usman. Usman's back, you hype that up, and he can go take on Bilal, because Bilal and him are chirping, which is part of the reason I added him, and the reason I'm making this video. And, yeah, you could do that. You could build up the Usman comeback story, or you're building up JDM or Shavkat. They just took out in Usman, what was like one title defense away from maybe surpassing GSP's legacy as a welterweight GOAT. And it's just a way to build up one of their names. I say whoever doesn't get the Bilal fight, whoever you don't plan on fighting against Bilal should get this fight. And then the winner of this fight takes on the winner of either Bilal Shavkat or Bilal JDM. Now, I don't know. I know JDM's arm got broken 299, but I don't know if he'd be back. I know Shavkat dealt with some sort of injury, but I think they're both. I think at least Shavkat be able to do this fight. And yeah, it's good for the rankings. Winner of this becomes the #1 contender and takes on Bilal. And then the loser of this gets maybe Leon? I don't know. Those details are hazy, but yeah, it's a good way to build up the number one contender, and either a young guy who gets a shot at gold, or Usman who's sharper at Bilal and can rebuild. Moving on to the 5th and unfortunate headliner that I added. If I see Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena get announced for 307, I'll watch the prelims. I'll watch up to the co-main event, and that's all I care about. That's all I will need to see. If this is a standalone headliner of a pay-per-view, I need DC Jones 3 on the undercard. I need McGregor Khabib 2. I need some crazy shit to be happening on the undercard if this is the main event, because this would be probably the worst pay-per-view headliner ever announced. Ferguson Diaz would have been a better one. I'd rather see Ferguson Diaz 2 as a headliner than this, because this would be the most god-awful, garbage, no skill fight I think I'd ever see as a headliner. Nobody wants to see this. Juliana Pena is a trash talker who isn't exciting. She fluked out a win against Amanda Nunes, then got 50-43'd, got fucking pummeled by Amanda Nunes the second time. And Raquel Pennington, that fight with Maribena Silva was just boring. And Raquel Pennington is just a boring fighter. And I don't know. This is just not a fight I would be interested in whatsoever. I don't think anybody would be really interested in it, but it makes sense more than other fights, unfortunately. And there's nothing else I could say about it. It just makes more sense than some other fights that I can throw together. And yeah, at least Raquel Pennington has the benefit of being on the big win streak, 6-fight win streak. Yep. And yeah, I guess this is an option that I would unfortunately have to sit through, unless you make it Kayla. No, Kayla Harrison's on the other card of this. You can't even do that. Fucking hell, Dana. I don't know what Dana's plans are for this card, but I hope to God it's not this. But now that I'm really thinking about it, this might be on the card because Kayla Harrison's on it, and Kayla Harrison will talk shit at that presser, and they'll talk shit about Kayla Harrison. And I know Kayla Harrison's going to absolutely fucking dominate anybody that they put in front of her. So she's going to fight the undercard of this, win, and call out the winner of this fight. Oh, it's all coming together. In an unfortunate, sad realization, it's coming all together. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more likely this atrocity of a title fight it's just a clear vision in my head. That's probably gonna be on this card. Hopefully not the headliner, but yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts on UFC 307. We're ending on a really sad and sour note, but yeah, that's the realization. That's what the UFC is these days. Instead of Aspinall, Jones, we're getting Jones, Stipe, and Raquel Pennington potentially headlining pay-per-views. Dark ages are nearly upon us, and yeah. So I'll drop my predictions next week for 305, and I said I was gonna make another video. I don't remember. I'll watch back the film. Watch back the tape. And yeah, I'll have some more videos next week. I'll try to pump out 3 next week, 1 being a prediction. And yeah, get ready for Spivak Tybora 2 this weekend. Yep, Dark Ages. Alright, well, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.